What's the vibe, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Running Off the Screen. I'm the man they call Mac. Before the season began, Siakam made it clear that he had aspirations to be recognized as a top 5 player in the NBA.
Step like I've been all NBA, I've been an all-star. Like it's just I want to be top 5 player in the league. Like I want to be one of the best, and I would do everything that I can to work towards that.
When he said that, I initially thought, okay, cool. Work hard and maybe in a couple of years that can happen. But after watching the product he was bringing to the court before he got injured, it was evident that he wasn't all talk and his motivation never wavered or dipped when the bright lights and late nights of NBA basketball stood in his way. Instead, he spun around all adversities, all the challenges, and the now 7-year NBA vet, so far this season, has stamped his arrival as one of the NBA elites. And I find it very interesting how Pascal measured his target, using top 5 as a goal. Not the top 10, not the top 3. When you line that up with Masai Ujiri's theories and goals this season, obviously first and foremost, the goal is to win. The ultimate win in this league is an NBA championship. And for the Raptors, bringing another ring for the country with a core we could more or less keep intact with hopes of building a dynasty. And why I found Pascal's top 5 statement interesting is because I strongly believe that an organization cannot win a championship without a top 5 player for that particular season on their roster. Now, I know some of you would immediately say, oh, the Detroit Pistons did it without an individual with top 5 talent. And I respect that. That was definitely an anomaly. Catching lightning in a bottle. However, by presenting the odds of, 1 out of every 77 years or so and counting, you can win a ring with a balanced roster and no top 5 talent. I mean, I would just want to find that top 5 player. So as our emerging top 5 talent rehabs and works his way back from injury, how are we going to survive? What do our remaining pieces need to do to keep us afloat during these next few weeks? Before we tab our core with expectations, I want to quickly break down the workload Pascal was carrying. Before the game against Dallas, he was at a 34% usage rate, which ranked number 1 among all forwards in the NBA. Now, Giannis is considered a big in these stats, and his usage rate was like 36.6 at the time of this recording. So, if you consider Giannis a forward, then Pascal would rank number 2. Also, Siakam has a 35.8 assist percentage, again ranking him first among forwards. So he was our primary conductor. So luckily for us, Freddie kind of cut his load management short just to step in and carry the burden of losing Pascal. And with Pascal in the lineup, Freddie's usage was at 19.2, and that shot up to 29.2 in the first 3 games he returned without Siakam in the mix. And his points per shot attempt in his return games, not including the OKC game, was at 129. Now, to put that in perspective, Luka Doncic on the season is at 122.6. Kevin Durant is at 127.8. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is at 126.9. So from a scoring standpoint, Freddie is doing an excellent job filling that void left by Pascal's absence, along with OG, who has been sprinkling in offensive outbursts for what it seems like 2 times a week or so. I admit, I was a bit pessimistic about OG expanding his game outside of being just a catch and shoot 3-and-D threat. but he's shown some flashes of decisiveness on offense and just a little bit of an improved balance on his drive attempts. Now, he's not perfect yet, but there is some improvement there, and it is a pleasant surprise. Now, I wonder if something clicked as far as OG Anunoby finding his looks on the court. And if that's the reason he's had some sort of added enthusiasm on the defensive side, I should say. Early on, I thought it was the presence of Koloko that kind of helped OG. You know, having that rim protector behind you, protecting any drive attempts. You can kind of gamble a bit more and try and get out on the break. However, I noticed the same calculated gambles, the anticipation, swiping at dribble moves, and the positioning to manipulate defenders before shifting into passing lanes. All those instincts are there no matter who is on the floor with OG. Up to this point, we have been surviving without Pascal by leaning off of Freddie's offensive takeovers and OG's defensive greatness. But I feel the final aspect of keeping us competitive without Siakam in the lineup is effective bench rotations. More notably, finding consistent scoring off the bench. I believe we are currently ranked, 27th in bench scoring and 29th in bench assists. Whether we choose to experiment with Doughton as our backup point guard or maybe just finally give Malachi a longer leash, I feel Nurse needs to, at times, move away from Delano running the point with the bench unit. And don't get me wrong, he deserves a chance to develop on a nightly basis. I just think Delano would be outstanding as a secondary playmaker in that bench lineup. That connector piece I always bring up, you know, the guy who's always in the hockey assist sequences, the bridge between a good pass and a great pass. And as for Malachi, if I'm Nick Nurse, I'm trying to inject some confidence to show the players I'm searching for answers. I would give Malachi a shot as our first point guard off the bench, subbing for Fred VanVleet, and see how he responds when he plays alongside the starters. So far this season, he's only played, 3 possessions this season where he replaced Fred and he got to play with the rest of the starters. Now, granted, with Pascal out, we're going to have to wait to try and experiment that to the fullest. But for now, let's just give him some earlier looks, and I would love to see your takes in the comments of how we should utilize our bench. So just please share your thoughts in the comments below. Now, for this new segment, I want to do a quick game preview and give 3 keys to victory for the Raptors in their next 3 or so games. And I'm going to do this on a weekly basis and get your guys' input of what you expect coming up for the Raptors in these next games. Now, November 12th, which is tonight, the Raptors face the Pacers. And I think key number 1 for me would be to protect the 3-point line. The Pacers play at a fast pace and make a lot of threes. Now you have Mathurin, Hield, Halliburton, and pretty much their whole rotation are capable of hitting the 3. So let's run them off the line and contest without fouling. Key number 2 in defeating the Pacers would be to contain Mathurin. Do everything in your power to keep him away from the rim and keep him uncomfortable at the 3-point line. So far this season, he has not made a long mid-range shot. You know, that area from the free throw line to the 3-point line. He is currently shooting 0 for 4 from that area, which is very surprising considering how deadly of a scorer he has been so far. Now, with that said, we cannot have him outscore our bench by himself. Key number 3 is to slow down the Pacers' tempo. I mentioned it a little bit before. They love to get out and run. And this game is the second night of a back-to-back. Now, our starters had some extra rest, considering we just got slapped by OKC. So we're going to be probably more rested than the Pacers expected. Even still, they're going to try and double down on their fast pace, and they're going to try and wear us down early and get us out of there. The next game I wanted to talk about is November 14th against the Pistons. Now, key number one for me would be to keep them off the offensive glass. They are one of the worst teams as far as offensive efficiency goes, so limiting their second chance opportunities should be a focal point. Make sure you just have some extra bodies in there on the defensive glass. Key number two is to lock down Cade. Now, I know he's dealing with, I think, shin soreness, so he might not play. But if he is in the game, I would just glue OG to him and press him as soon as he reaches half court. And key number three against the Pistons would be attacking the rim and getting to the line. They do not have a true shot blocking presence in their rotation. Now, Jalen Duren could be a problem, but we could use his youth and inexperience to our advantage. And I would look to attack their playmakers and get them in foul trouble as well. With that said, the point I made about how bad their efficiency is, they thrive and stay in games due to their ability to get to the line. The third game I want to talk about is November 16th against the Miami Heat. Key number one, don't let Tyler be the hero. Now, he's been out with an ankle injury. He could be coming back anytime now. If he is available for that game, we cannot let him be the X factor. Keep him out the paint. Force him to defer to the other players on the court. Key number two would be to trap and double Jimmy Butler. And do not reach. Jimmy is great at drawing fouls. He's in the 90th percentile for shooting foul percentage and 84th percentile in floor foul percentage. So just be more smart than physical when guarding him. And key number three would be to get creative. When you face Eric Spoelstra, you know he has a counter for any of your go-to offensive sets. He understands timing and plays you call in certain subtle scenarios. So we will need to just throw a wrench in our usual flow from time to time throughout the game. You beat Miami with depth or creativity. And we lack the depth, so that just leaves us no choice. So that's it for the keys to victory. And that's a wrap for the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you again next week. Please remember to like, subscribe, and raise the vibe. Peace.